Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast, fellow bookworms. Today, we are settling into our comfiest armchairs for a deep dive into a beloved classic that's anything but simple, Jane Austen's Emma.
Ah, Emma, a novel that sparkles with wit, social satire, and a heroine who, let's be honest, can be a bit of a handful.
That's putting it mildly. Even Austen herself confessed that Emma Woodhouse was a character no one but myself will much like.
So that begs the question, what makes Emma so unlikable? And why do we as readers find ourselves drawn to her despite her flaws?
It's a testament to Austen's genius, really.
Hmm.
She crafted a character who is both deeply flawed and utterly compelling. Emma is intelligent, witty, and undeniably charming, but she's also spoiled meddling and often blind to her own shortcomings.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, but you can't tear your eyes away. Before we get too deep into Emma's misadventures, though, let's paint a picture for our listeners who might be new to this charming world. Excellent point. Emma takes place in the idyllic English village of Highbury, where Emma Woodhouse, a young woman of wealth and privilege, reigns supreme. She's got it all: a comfortable home, a doting father, and a seemingly endless supply of free time.
Which, as we all know, can be a recipe for disaster. Emma, with her sharp mind and even sharper tongue, fancies herself a bit of a matchmaker.
And that's where the real fun begins. Emma, convinced she knows best, sets out to orchestrate the romantic lives of those around her, with often hilarious and disastrous results.
Her first target, her dear friend Harriet Smith, a sweet, impressionable young woman who becomes a pawn in Emma's elaborate matchmaking schemes.
Poor Harriet. She's swept along by Emma's enthusiasm, completely unaware of the social landmines she's navigating.
And let's not forget the unfortunate Mr. Elton, the village vicar, who falls head over heels for Emma, much to her surprise and dismay.
The misunderstandings, the social blunders, the sheer awkwardness of it all, Austen captures it with such wit and precision.
It's classic Austen at her finest. But one thing that sets Emma apart from some of her other novels is its pace. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a page-turner, but it's a bit more introspective, a bit more character-driven than, say, the whirlwind romance of Pride and Prejudice.
That's a great point, Emma. It is a novel that unfolds gradually, revealing its layers of meaning and complexity with each reading. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic plot twists. It's about the subtle nuances of human interaction, the intricate workings of social dynamics, and the often hilarious consequences of good intentions gone awry.
Exactly, and that's why some sources like Roches Alani's review suggest that Emma might be a more rewarding read for those already familiar with Austen's style. It's a novel that demands your attention, invites you to read between the lines, and to truly savor the richness of her language.
I couldn't agree more. If you're looking for a light, frothy romance, Emma might not be your cup of tea. But if you're willing to engage with its complexities, to unravel its layers of meaning, you'll find it to be an incredibly rewarding reading experience.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of rewarding experiences, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Emma so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. It really helps other book lovers find their way to the Book Nook.
We always love hearing from our listeners.
Now, back to Emma. We've talked about her flaws, her matchmaking mishaps, and the unique pacing of the novel. But what about her motivations? Why is she so obsessed with playing Cupid?
That's an interesting question. On the surface, it might seem like harmless entertainment for a young woman with too much time on her hands. But if we dig a little deeper, we can see that Emma's matchmaking is driven by a complex mix of factors.
Like what?
Well, for one, she enjoys the power and control it gives her. Emma is used to getting her own way, and she finds a certain satisfaction in manipulating the lives of those around her.
It's like she's playing chess with people's hearts.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that Emma is a product of her time and social class. In Regency England, marriage was often seen as a woman's primary goal, and a successful match could make or break her future.
So Emma's meddling while misguided is partly a reflection of the societal pressures she faces.
Precisely. And it's this tension between individual agency and societal expectations that makes Emma such a fascinating and complex character.
It's like she's trying to navigate a minefield of social conventions, and she's not always sure where to step.
That's a great way to put it. And it's through Emma's stumbles and missteps that Austen exposes the hypocrisies and absurdities of her society.
So even though Emma is set in a very specific time and place, its themes still resonate with us today.
Absolutely. The pressures of social conformity, the complexities of human relationships, the struggle to find one's place in the world, These are universal themes that transcend time and culture.
It's like Austen is holding up a mirror to human nature, and we can't help but recognize ourselves in the characters she creates, even if they lived centuries ago.
Exactly. And that's the magic of great literature. It allows us to connect with people and experiences that are both familiar and foreign, both timeless and timely.
Speaking of timeless, let's talk about the love story at the heart of Emma. We've got Emma, the meddling matchmaker, and Mr. Knightley, the voice of reason and, dare I say, her ultimate romantic destiny.
Ah, Mr. Knightley. He's the steady hand, the moral compass, the one who sees Emma for who she truly is, flaws and all.
And he's not afraid to call her out on her nonsense.
Exactly. Their relationship is a slow burn, a battle of wits and wills that ultimately culminates in a love that is both passionate and enduring.
It's a far cry from the instant attraction and whirlwind romances we often see in modern novels, but it's so much more satisfying, don't you think?
Absolutely. Theirs is a love built on mutual respect, intellectual sparring, and a deep understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best relationships are those that simmer and develop over time.
And that true love is often found in the most unexpected places.
Now, before we get too swept away by the romance, let's shift our focus to another key aspect of Emma that's been highlighted in several of the sources we've explored, the theme of class consciousness.
Ah, yes. This is a recurring theme in Austen's novels, but it's especially prominent in Emma. The rigid social hierarchy of Regency England is constantly present, influencing the characters' choices, relationships, and even their perceptions of themselves.
It's like an invisible force field that shapes their entire world.
Precisely. And Emma, with her privileged upbringing and social standing, is both a product and a perpetuator of this system.
We see this most clearly in her interactions with Harriet, right? She's constantly trying to elevate Harriet's social status, steering her away from suitors she deems beneath her.
Exactly. And it's through these interactions that Austen subtly critiques the absurdity of this class-based thinking. She doesn't preach or moralize, she simply shows us the consequences of these beliefs, both comic and tragic.
It's like Austen is saying, look at how ridiculous this all is. These arbitrary distinctions based on birth and wealth. It's a theme that still resonates today, don't you think?
Absolutely. We may not have the same rigid social hierarchy as Regency England, but we certainly still grapple with issues of class, social mobility, and the ways in which our backgrounds shape our opportunities.
It's a reminder that we should always be questioning our assumptions and challenging systems of inequality.
Well said. Now, speaking of challenging assumptions, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the age gap in the room.
Oh yes, the Mr. Knightley and Emma situation. It's something that's come up in several of the sources, and I know it's a point of contention for some modern readers.
It's understandable. From a contemporary perspective, the age difference between Emma and Mr. Knightley, with him being significantly older and having known her since she was a child, can raise eyebrows.
It's definitely a relationship dynamic that would be viewed differently today.
It's important to remember, though, that we're looking at this relationship through a modern lens. In Austen's time, such age gaps were not uncommon, and the emphasis was often on compatibility of temperament and social standing rather than strict age equality.
That's a good point. It's always a challenge to reconcile our modern sensibilities with the social norms of a different era.
It is, and it's a conversation worth having. But I think it's also important to appreciate the nuances of their relationship as Austen presents it. Mr. Knightley is not a predatory figure. He genuinely cares for Emma and challenges her to become a better version of herself.
And the relationship is built on years of shared history, mutual respect, and intellectual sparring. It's not a case of instant infatuation. It's a love that has grown and deepened over time.
Exactly. And ultimately, it's up to each reader to interpret their relationship and decide how they feel about it.
That's the beauty of literature, isn't it? It sparks these kinds of conversations and challenges us to think critically about complex issues.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of sparking conversations, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something a bit more lighthearted. The 1995 film Clueless.
Oh, yes. The iconic teen movie that's actually a modern adaptation of Emma. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It really is. It's a testament to the timelessness of Austen's story that it can be so seamlessly translated to a completely different setting and era.
Cher Horowitz is basically Emma in a designer outfit navigating the social minefield of high school instead of Regency England.
And the parallels are uncanny. Ty is Harriet, Josh is Mr. Knightley. Even the matchmaking schemes are remarkably similar.
It's amazing how Clueless manages to capture the essence of Austen's social satire while still feeling fresh and relevant to a modern audience.
It's a reminder that the themes Austen explored, social hierarchy, the pressure to conform, the complexities of human relationships, are just as relevant today as they were in the 19th century.
It's like Austen's work is a gift that keeps on giving, inspiring new interpretations and adaptations across generations.
Speaking of gifts, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Emma, we'd love for you to share the gift of the Book Nook podcast with your fellow bookworms. Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and tell your friends about the show.
We appreciate your support. Now back to the book at hand. We've talked about Emma's flaws, her growth, her relationships, and even her modern-day counterpart, Cher Horowitz. But there's one more aspect of her character that I want to explore, her potential as a feminist icon.
Ah, yes. This is a topic that has sparked a lot of debate among Austen scholars and fans alike.
On the one hand, Emma is a strong, independent woman who defies many of the societal expectations placed upon women of her time. She's wealthy, intelligent, and she doesn't seem particularly interested in marriage, at least not initially.
And she certainly doesn't shy away from expressing her opinions or asserting her will.
She's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's her meddling, her social snobbery, and her often misguided attempts to control the lives of those around her, particularly women.
And her obsession with class and social status certainly doesn't align with modern feminist ideals.
So it's a complex issue with no easy answers. Is Emma a proto-feminist heroine, a product of her patriarchal society, or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. She embodies both the progressive and the problematic aspects of her time. And that's what makes her such a fascinating and enduring character.
It's like she's a walking contradiction.
Yeah.
A reminder that even the most seemingly strong women can be complicit in systems of oppression.
Exactly. And it's up to each reader to grapple with these contradictions and decide how they interpret Emma's character and her legacy.
Now, speaking of legacy, one thing that struck me in the sources, particularly the Silver Petticoat Review article, is how Emma has influenced countless other works of literature and film.
It's true. From modern retellings like Clueless to contemporary novels that explore similar themes of social dynamics and self-discovery, Emma continues to inspire and shape the literary landscape.
It's like Austen tapped into something universal about the human experience, something that transcends time and culture.
And that's why her work continues to be relevant and resonant even centuries after it was written.
It's a reminder that great stories have the power to connect us across generations, sparking conversations and challenging us to think deeply about ourselves and the world around us.
And speaking of connections, one of the things that makes Emma so unique is its setting. Unlike many of Austen's other novels, which are set in the bustling social circles of Bath or London, Emma takes place in the quiet countryside in the small village of Highbury.
It's like a character in itself, isn't it? Highbury, with its close-knit community, its intricate social webs, and its cast of quirky and memorable inhabitants.
Precisely. And it's this intimate setting that allows Austen to really delve into the nuances of village life and the dynamics of human interaction on a smaller scale. We see how gossip spreads, how reputations are made and broken, and how even the smallest actions can have ripple effects throughout the community.
It's like Austen is putting a magnifying glass over a tiny corner of the world and revealing all its complexities and contradictions.
And through this microcosm of society, she explores universal themes that resonate with readers regardless of their time or place. Love loss, ambition, social pressure, the search for identity. These are all timeless human experiences that play out on the stage of Highbury.
It's a reminder that even in the most seemingly ordinary settings, extraordinary stories can unfold, and that the human heart, with all its complexities and contradictions, is the same, whether you're in a bustling city or a quiet village.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's shift our focus back to Emma's journey of self-discovery. We've talked about her flaws, her misguided attempts at matchmaking, and her complicated relationship with social hierarchy. But ultimately, Emma is a story about growth, about a young woman learning from her mistakes and becoming a more empathetic and understanding person.
It's a journey that's both heartwarming and relatable, isn't it? We've all made mistakes, we've all misjudged people, and we've all had to learn some hard lessons along the way.
Exactly. And Emma's journey is a reminder that it's never too late to change, to grow, and to become a better version of ourselves.
And it's a reminder that true happiness often comes from within, from self-acceptance, and from learning to appreciate the simple joys of life.
Well said. And speaking of appreciating simple joys, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Emma, we encourage you to share the joy with others. Subscribe to the Book Nook podcast, leave us a review, and spread the word about this delightful and thought-provoking novel.
Now let's continue our exploration of Emma as we delve into the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Jane Austen's Emma, a novel that's captivated readers for centuries with its wit, charm, and surprisingly complex characters.
And we've covered a lot of ground. From Emma's meddling misadventures and her complicated relationship with Mr. Knightley to the novel's insightful social commentary and its enduring legacy in literature and film.
It's been a delightful journey, and I'm excited to delve into this last part with you. We've touched on the idea that Emma might not be the ideal starting point for Austen newbies. Why do you think that is? Well, Emma is a bit like a finely aged wine. It's a novel that reveals its depths and complexities, slowly rewarding those who are willing to savor its nuances and appreciate its subtle humor.
It's not a book you rush through, right?
Yeah.
It invites you to linger over the language, to ponder the characters' motivations, and to really appreciate the richness of Austen's social satire.
Exactly. And for readers who are new to Austen's world, this might feel a bit intimidating or even slow-paced compared to some of her other more overtly romantic novels.
So you're saying it's best to ease into the Austen universe with something like Pride and Prejudice before diving into the depths of Emma.
Precisely. Once you've developed an appreciation for Austen's style, her wit, and her keen observations of human nature, Emma becomes an absolute treasure trove of delights.
It's like unlocking a secret level in a video game.
Right.
You need to master the basic skills before you can tackle the more challenging content.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of challenges, one of the things that makes Emma so rewarding for experienced Austen readers is its intricate plot structure and the way Austen plays with our perceptions.
It's like she's constantly pulling the rug out from under us, making us question our assumptions about the characters and their relationships.
Exactly. We're often led to believe one thing only to have the truth revealed in a surprising and often humorous way. It's a testament to Austen's mastery of irony and her ability to keep us guessing until the very end.
And it keeps us coming back for more, right? Every time you reread Emma, you discover something new, some subtle detail or hidden meaning you hadn't noticed before.
Absolutely. It's a novel that rewards close reading and multiple interpretations. And that's part of what makes it a classic. It's a work of art that continues to resonate with readers across generations and cultures.
Now, speaking of resonating with readers, we have to talk about the ending of Emma. It's something that has sparked endless debate and discussion among Austen fans. Some find it perfectly satisfying, while others find it a bit too neat or even unrealistic.
It's true. The ending with Emma and Mr. Knightley finally acknowledging their feelings for each other and settling into a seemingly idyllic life together can feel a bit too tidy for some modern readers.
Especially after all the drama and misunderstandings that lead up to that point.
But I think it's important to remember that Austen was writing within the conventions of her time, and a happy ending for the heroine was pretty much a given.
So we have to take it with a grain of salt, so to speak.
Exactly. And I think it's also possible to read the ending as a kind of wish fulfillment, a hopeful vision of a world where love and understanding can triumph over social barriers and personal flaws.
It's like Austen is saying, yes, the world is messy and complicated, but even amidst the chaos, there's still room for love, happiness, and second chances.
Beautifully put. And I think that message is ultimately what makes Emma such an enduring and beloved novel. It's a story that offers hope, humor, and a reminder that even the most flawed among us can find redemption and happiness.
And speaking of happiness, we'd be absolutely delighted if you'd share the joy of the Book Nook podcast with your fellow book lovers. Hit that subscribe button, leave us a glowing review, and let's spread the love of literature far and wide.
We appreciate your support. Now, as we wrap up our deep dive into Emma, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Please do.
We've explored the novel's intricate plot, its complex characters, its insightful social commentary, and its enduring legacy. But perhaps the most important takeaway is the power of Emma to spark conversations, to challenge our assumptions, and to make us think deeply about ourselves and the world around us.
It's a reminder that great literature is more than just entertainment. It's a mirror that reflects back our own humanity, our flaws, our aspirations, and our endless capacity for growth and change.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we encourage you to continue your own exploration of Jane Austen's Emma. Pick up a copy of the book, delve into its pages, and discover its magic for yourself.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the charming and thought-provoking world of Emma. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have.
It's been a pleasure sharing our insights and perspectives with you.
And don't forget to check the link in the description to get your own copy of Emma.
Until next time, happy reading.